Hello everyone, welcome back to Political Predictions. Today I will be doing a video on how would the 2014 Senate elections turn out if Mitt Romney was president. I think LT made a video of this, I think in September of 2018. I'm making my own. Please guys, if you think I am a little biased in this, please let me know. Uh, because Mitt Romney being president changes the 2014 election. So, um, so anyway, before we get started, please subscribe to my channel. Every single subscriber matters to me so much, and we're getting some views now, and I remember gaining a subscriber today, but fortunately I lost one. I don't know who it was, but yeah. So please subscribe, and if you like my content, please share it with a friend or your parents, definitely they would appreciate it, and let's build this in together. Build my channel. Anyway, so today's topic will be how would the 2014 Senate elections turn out if Mitt Romney was president of the United States? As you guys can see, I tried looking for the 2014 map, but unfortunately I couldn't find it. If you guys find nowhere, if there's a website where I can use an interactive 2014 map, please let me know. Write in the comments if you do. But yeah, let's get into it. So the safe Republican seats: Idaho, Wyoming. Probably not South Dakota, it's its open seat. Nebraska, Oklahoma, both of Oklahoma's seats. Alabama, I believe Jeff Sessions was uncontested, so I think he's probably going to win. Tennessee, Lamar Alexander will easily win. West Virginia, I would think that would be maybe a little closer due to Mitt Romney being president, but again, West Virginia has been trending red, so I think it would have been a safe R flip. So, if you guys might forgive me, I will put any likely R. So West Virginia would be safe R flip, essentially. So the first gain, so for the Republicans. And Maine probably would have gotten a lot closer because since it was 2014, it was a very anti-democratic, anti-Obama year. That's why Susan Collins won by like 37, plus her opponent was bad. But I think in this case, she would still win by like a safe margin because in 2014, she was still very popular in Maine. So, yeah. Because she was still very popular in Maine. That's the reason, she won by like 37. Anyway, so, um, Texas, I think, would be safe for John Cornyn's opponent, David Alamiel, really was like a know nothing guy, like nobody knew who that guy, no one knew who he was. In Mississippi, Thad Cochran would have been safe. And yeah, sorry guys, I just got a hiccup. Anyway, the safe Democratic seats would have been Oregon, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Delaware. Chris Coons would have won easily. Illinois, and I think that's all I see. In Hawaii. Hawaii did have a special election in 2014 where Brian Schatz won the election to complete the rest of Daniel Inouye's term, who unfortunately passed away in 2012. I think he was a legendary senator too, as well. And I think New Mexico would have been safe. I know, guys, Tom Udall won by like a likely margin, but the thing is that because this is now Mitt Romney's president. Now we're imagining if Mitt Romney was president in 2014. So you would have more of an anti-Romney sentiment because usually that's what happens in first term midterms, in the midterms, So because since it's Mitt Romney facing his first midterm, I think New Mexico would probably vote in Tom Udall by a safe margin. And yeah, that's really what I see. Now for Republicans, likely states include Arkansas. Definitely I think it would have been a lot closer because, Mark Pryor would kind of be lucky that Mitt Romney was president. So he would be a little closer, but again, Mark Pryor wasn't that popular, and plus, Tom Cotton, plus given how Arkansas has been trending in 2014, so I would probably give Arkansas a likely R flip, but I think it would be a lot closer. Like I would be within like maybe 5 to 8% margin. Um, Oh, I think South Carolina would have been likely. I mean, Lindsey Graham, I think he was kind of relatively like, approved of, so I think that would be safe. And Tim Scott's seat would be safe. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. I apologize for it. Kentucky, I think, would have been likely. So, the reason why is I think Allison Lundergan Grimes or Grimes, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but, I think she would have gotten within some striking distance because, even though Mitt Romney would probably be approved of in Kentucky, but Mitch McConnell is probably relatively unpopular, and plus in a midterm year that's kind of, more in favor of the Democrats. I think Mitch McConnell would have still held on, but I think it would be like maybe 11 points or 12 points for Mitt Romney. I meant Mitch McConnell, the then Senate Minority Leader. So at this point, Democrats held 55 seats to the Republicans 45 at that time. So I just made my own class of Senate seats. And I think South Dakota would have been likely Republican, and that's another flip. So I think counting how many seats the Republicans flip, I think it's three, right? South Dakota was held by Tim Johnson, a Democrat. So South Dakota would have been likely because it's a more of a Democratic favored year. So Larry Pressler, I think, who was the former senator who was actually defeated by Johnson in 1996 and then ran as an independent. So I think he would have done a little better. And I think that's really all I see for being likely. Now, Democrats' likely states include Minnesota. While Al Franken did win very, 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 very narrowly in 2008, but in 2014 he had relatively large fundraising. He had a high approval rating too. So plus Al Franken was pretty effective. I would say Al Franken was like a great senator for Minnesota. Unfortunately, he had to cave in to just resign. He had just had to cave in, but I think he was a very very effective senator for Minnesota. So yeah, I think plus he didn't have that scandal back then. So I think in Minnesota he would have won comfortably, like maybe 12 or 13. Michigan would have been another likely state. I know, because now Carl Levin was retiring, so while Democrats did have the retirements, would still have the retirements, however, Gary Peters would do a little better, and plus his opponent Terry Lynn Land was actually pretty horrible, so, in the best way to put it, she was horrible, um, so Gary Peters would have still got a good win, either way. And Virginia, I think, would have been likely. So I think because in 2014 you had a very strong anti-incumbency sentiment and very strong anti-democratic sentiment. That's why Mark Warner almost lost to Ed Gillespie, who eventually lost to Ralph Northam by almost 10% in 2017. But I think Warner would have not had a really near death experience. I think it would have been much, much closer than his original bid in 2008, where he won by like a landslide. But I think he would have still been relatively comfortable, in a comfortable spot because now you have a more slightly Democratic favoring year in 2014. And I think that's all I really see for the Democrats. Now, for Republicans, lean states include Montana. I think Montana, if Joe Walsh wasn't caught up with that scandal, actually, Montana would have been a likely R because Amanda Curtis had literally no name recognition. But I think the year being a more favorable year for Democrats with Mitt Romney as president would kind of benefit Amanda Curtis. So I think that would be likely R. So right now, Republicans have flipped 4 seats from the Democrats, which I would expect because since Democrats were defending a ton of seats in 2014, it's like almost similar to 2018, like how Democrats were defending a lot of seats. And in this case, Democrats were defending a ton of seats. You had incumbents in Montana, South Dakota, Alaska, Arkansas, Louisiana. You had incumbents, North Carolina, Iowa, Colorado. So you had incumbents in New Hampshire. You had competitive incumbents in competitive states and red states as well. So I'm not too surprised that Republicans had gotten 4 seats from the Democrats. But now Republicans lean states would have include Kansas. I think Greg Orman would have done a lot better. Like because Greg Orman, he did say he was going to caucus with whoever party had the majority. So really, in 2014, since there was Republicans who were poised to have the majority, it was really a Republican versus a Republican, because Greg Orman was kind of like a swing, voter. He plus he did vote for Obama in 2008 and Romney in 2012. So I think in that case it was really Republican versus Republican because Republicans were anyway going to get the Senate majority. And I think Republicans are a one seat away from the majority. So, but now with Kansas, they got their 50th seat. So now they've retained Senate control. And they have gained Senate control from the Democrats. And I think Louisiana would have been lean R. I know. Plus, Mary Landrieu had a fairly good crossover appeal. Like, I think she did appeal to some conservative white men, but at the same time, Louisiana is marching right, and since the Republican vote is split, that's why it went into a runoff. But usually in runoffs and any outside elections, Democrats don't tend to do that well. So, but I think Mary Landrieu would have been a lot closer. She would have probably lost by like 4 or 5, rather than an obliterating 11% in the runoff. And Georgia, I think that would have been leaner as well. So because since Georgia was still considered a red state in 2014, I mean now it's more of like a purple state, but back in 2014 it was a red state, and in 2012 I voted for Romney by about 8%. So by 7.82% to be exact. So I think David Perdue would have kept the seat in Republican hands, although it would have been a lot closer. And the lean Democratic states would have been Colorado. I think Mark Udall would have probably benefited from being a more Democratic favoring year in 2014. So I think Mark Udall would have held on. North Carolina, I think Kay Hagan would have held on because since Kay Hagan was so closely tied to the president, Tom Tillis used that against her and she lost. But now that she doesn't have to worry about now being tied to Obama, she would be relatively fine. I think she would win by like 2%, the same margin Obama lost by North Carolina by. And New Hampshire, I think, Scott Brown would have still lost to Jeanne Shaheen, but I think it would have been a little higher. And now the final states, now the tilt states for Republicans, I think the only one would be Iowa. So, I think Iowa would be a tilt state because Bruce Braley, I think he would have gotten a much closer because since 2014 was an anti-Obama year, he lost by like 8%. But I think he also, if he ran a better campaign and did not, if he hadn't insulted the farmers and insulted Chuck Grassley, who is pretty much like the John McCain of Iowa. He's like the John McCain of Iowa. So I think he would have done a much better. But again, I think Iowa could have favored Joni Ernst because Ernst is relatively popular. And I think also maybe Alaska, I think, would be tilt. I think Alaska would be like a pure toss up because Mark Begich wasn't that popular because he was so relatively close to Obama. But now because you have removing Obama from the equation, I think Begich would, I think, still win it narrowly. So right now, it's pretty much an exact flip. Republicans have gained 6 seats from the Democrats: Montana, South Dakota, Iowa, Louisiana, Arkansas, West Virginia, and I believe that is really all I see for Republic and Louisiana. So that's like a net gain of 4 from the Democrats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 seats. So Republicans would have had a 51-49 majority. So they would have retaken the Senate either way, but it would have been a lot better for the Democrats. Anyway, that's my predictions for 2014 midterms. If Mitt Romney was president, if you liked it, please subscribe to my channel. Put a thumbs up to this video, and if you disagreed, you can put a thumbs down. And also tell me why you disagreed as well. And that is, as always, I will keep uploading more content. Anyway, guys, political predictions out. Oh wait, guys, sorry. So I think Republicans would have had 51-49 because since the Senate before Obama was 55-45, so it would have now been Republican 51-49. So Anyway, guys, that would be in the final Senate total. And as always, please keep watching. Political predictions out.